Hey everybody, thank you so much for coming back. Sorry this video is a little bit late, but I had a pretty busy holiday weekend. With that said, I hope you all sit back, relax, and enjoy part 4 of the Dragon Ball section of the Strongest Earth in the Multiverse. Welcome to the tour, I'm your captain. In the depths of Kami, the deep forest lined with nothing but animals and trees as far as the eye could see, a disturbance was felt, shaking the nearby landscape to the point of crumbling. Kneeling down, a woman crouched, pulling a blue stone from the freshly disturbed dirt, and raising it to the sky. I have uncovered the relic, sir. Excellent. Bring it to our collaborators and let none find you. We are one step closer to our goals thanks to your work today. A voice rang in her ears as she nodded, smiling widely. Hail, Hydra, she said, the glow of the stone shining into her eyes. Again, Bardock said, his 7-year-old son launching into the air, unleashing a flurry of jabs, none of them coming close to hitting the mark. It was easy to keep up with him, but not quite as easy as it was before. He had a power level of around a few hundred, good for this world, but not much for Bardock's leg gave out. Granola. He actually got strong enough for those stupid little pellets of his to hurt, and hurt a lot. He limped down, as from behind he felt someone pick him up. Was that Kal-El? That brat was the strongest out of all of the kids, but he didn't even have proper ki training. Must have been something with his physiology encountering this planet, at least according to T'Chaka's scientists, so of course having him the closest was something that he had to praise the brats for. Their strategy was getting better. Kal-El sent him into the ground. It wasn't smart enough, though. Bardock shifted his ki, pushing the boys back in one continuous pulse as they fell onto the ground. He steadied himself, knowing that it wasn't done yet. Just then, another strike. Another one that brought him to his knees. He spiked his ki, pushing the boys away, then looked toward a rock that he could sense ki behind. Riot Javelin! He tossed an attack in that direction, collapsing the boulder that Gine and Muesli hid behind, them dashing to either side of him. They blitzed him at close range, getting a few good hits in before he managed to throw them away. His eyes focused on Muesli. She was the only one still close to them. She fired one more shot, stronger than the others, and it almost worked too, but Bardock was just barely faster, appearing behind her and tapping her on the head. Game, set. Ah, man, Goku muttered, being helped to his feet by the young, gentle Kal-El. We'll get him next time, he assured him. The pair had been doing a lot of training exercises over the last 7 years. At least, the training exercises that they were old enough to take part in. Yeah, you two just need to catch up to me. Can't be the only one carrying you all the time. Granola patted his little brother's heads. You got it, Cal said, his eyes sparkling with excitement. They had only gotten closer with time. Muesli watched her boy. He had a sense of purpose that she was thankful for, even if she didn't share it yet. Bardock cracked his neck. The boys were definitely tougher, but this was one of his quickest wins. If he had to guess, his power level had risen a good 1200. His little arrangement with T'Chaka had been working out. He just wished he could get the boys to level up on their own. They were only growing together, as a family, which was fine on the surface. It was what he agreed to, after all, with his family. But at their age, he was already being sent outside the solar system. If they weren't careful, the boys would be dependent on the adults permanently. Speaking of... Boys, grab your crap. We're going back to Wakanda. Yes! Kal-El and Goku said at the same time. They were going to get to see T'Challa and his sister again. They were practically racing to the house to pack their things, but Granola was more rolling his eyes, lugging himself to the same place. Muesli did mostly the same, Gine walking by her. Hey, good session today, Gine said happily. Yeah, I think it worked out. The boys are getting somewhere, Muesli replied. Only because of your boy. Honestly, I've been feeling like Cal is a little lost. Not having any other Kryptonians is a little hard on him, but he seems to have found some sense of camaraderie, Gine replied. Yeah, he's a good kid, Muesli said back. Because of you, Gine said back, Muesli smiling at her. She had told Bardock not to allow his heart to be weighed down by trauma so long ago. She just wished she could take her own advice. She was comfortable with these people, being around them. Gine reached out to her nearly every day, the kind woman that she was, and even Bardock was trying on some level. She just felt lost. Though her excursions, helping people out throughout the world, part of the deal they made with the Wakandans, that helped. It actually got her mind off it here and there. That's why she was out there more times than not. The days when she had just stayed still, kind of like this, where she just hung out with the people she lived with instead of looking for trouble, they were hell on her mind. What she hated more than anything, because that meant simply being with her son and only being his mother, was uncomfortable. She just hoped T'Chaka had something to do. At this point, she really needed it. Granola would leave Gohan's house quickly, giving a cursory goodbye to him as he went out the door, knowing that he would see the man within only a few days. Kalo, however, stayed next to Goku, knowing that while the boy loved exploring, he always hated saying goodbye to Gohan, him probably being the closest person to the boy aside from his mother. Goku was hugging the man tight enough to slightly bruise his ribs. "I'm gonna miss you, Grandpa," he sniffled. "You'll see me in a few days, my boy." He patted the young Saiyan on the head, who burrowed deeper into his chest. "You just practice those moves I taught you. Show them off to your friends overseas. Time will fly by, and then I'll show you something else when you get back." "Promise?" Goku asked, Gohan lifting him gently in response before pausing, staring ahead at his prized artifact, the 4-starred orb that had been glowing since early morning, when he had come back from fishing. He didn't know what it meant, not exactly, had never behaved like that before, but he had some sense. He always thought there might have been more of those things out there. "Hey, my boy, how about you take this orb with you? It's been behaving a bit strange lately, and you keep telling me how smart your friends are," he said, ruffling the boy's hair. "Sure thing, you can count on me, Grandpa," Goku smiled, grabbing what he didn't know would set off the adventure of his life. "Will you hurry it up?" Bulma Briefs muttered. "Your driving's making me motion sick." "You're welcome to get behind the wheel instead, Princess," a young Anthony Stark said, tightening the grip on the wheel in annoyance. "I mean, there's a first time for everything." "I heard that," Bulma's voice responded. "Wasn't hiding it," Tony said back. "You know, someday you should really treat girls nicer if you want a relationship." "Right, because being a billionaire isn't cutting it, huh?" Tony's eyes drifted to the Dragon radar on the car's dashboard, something it took the two of them the better part of a year to put together after they found the first one on the beach. "Huh. Looks like there's a problem here." "Another one? Is it that stupid phantom signal again?" There had been an 8th Dragon Ball location pinging and dipping wildly for the past couple of days, much stronger than the others, and to make matters even weirder, it had recently begun moving. Maybe. It's affecting one of the stable 7, he said, Bulma's relaxed body stiffening in response. "What do you mean?" "It's moving away from us." He looked into the sky, several dots on the horizon filling his sight. "Someone's taking the ball." Bulma's eyes opened wide as she began pressing just about every button on the car she could. "How fast?" "Very." "You upgraded the car, right?" "Of course Tony was thrown back in his seat as the car boosted into the air at lightning speeds. "Give a guy a warning next time, will you?" "I'm sorry, I thought you wanted to collect the damn things." "Are we catching up?" Bulma asked, Tony looking at the radar in response. "No, they're still faster. Barely, but they're still faster." Bulma shook her head. "Fine, they were just a little bit further ahead. It couldn't be more than an hour away. They couldn't keep flying forever after all, so they would have to stop sooner or later. And she'd catch up. And then... Well, and then she wasn't sure. She'd figure that out when she got there." "It's not gonna work," Raditz said, tied to a steel chair in an empty bar. "It's totally gonna work," Peter replied, tied to the chair next to him, the same cocky grin as always. Raditz groaned as the people who had kidnapped them waltzed in. If Peter's stupid luck carried him through this, who was he kidding? Of course it was going to. The men who kidnapped them sat across from the boys. "So, the legendary Star-Lord agrees to grace our space," the leader at the helm said. The boys got a good look at him for the first time. Their plan before only hinged on information they could scrounge around from pirate crews here or there. They only needed a Kree captain, so seeing as he had those features on his suit, it relaxed them a little. "The name's catching on," Peter whispered. "Unfortunately," Raditz replied, staring his opponent down. The name Star-Lord was far more recognizable than his own, likely due to how ridiculous it was, so, more often than not over the years, rumors spread of the Star-Lord and his partner. Just his partner, and that was starting to get on Raditz's nerves. The goons moved around them as the Kree captain got closer. "Let's cut straight to the chase, boys. Do you want to get back what you stole from us?" the captain asked, the boy shrugging in response. Don't be cute. Where's the container? Raditz's eye twitched. Of course Peter's plan was already seeing results. Container? What, like Tupperware or something? Peter asked. The boss grabbed Peter's head and slammed it on the table before him. Raditz hissed in a deep breath, forcing his hand steady. If Peter wanted to get out of the situation, he could. He didn't need his help with these dorks. He just needed to remind himself of that. You know damn well what I mean. You attacked our convoy en route to Kylos and... Peter stifled a laugh as Raditz groaned, both of them breaking out of their restraints. You owe me $10. Yeah, didn't think they'd be that stupid, Raditz groaned. Peter stood up, grabbing his confiscated element guns from the two guards, and encasing them in rock. Raditz blitzed the other two, and in an instant, the two boys had completely left this army decimated. So, the stone's on Kylos, Peter replied. Probably easy to grab, if anything's gonna be enough to get Yondu to tell us about Earth. You know nothing will ever be close enough for him to tell us about Earth. I keep telling you, we need to strike out on our own. Find the damn place ourselves, save and steal what we want, and eventually... go home. Raditz replied. I know you've been thinking about it. Yeah, I guess you make a good point. Traveling the stars, the whole galaxy knowing our name, which is, How about the Star Duo? Absolutely not, Raditz replied, grabbing what little he could from the unconscious guards. The Saiyans were proud warriors, soldiers who fought to protect. The last... Yeah, I get it. Okay, noble, huh? How about the... Guardians of the Galaxy? Peter asked, Raditz stopping in his tracks. I don't hate it, Raditz replied. Come on, let's get the stupid stone. Upon landing in Wakanda, the boys almost immediately went to find T'Challa and Shuri, their parents letting them down since none of them had figured out how to fly yet, a particular annoyance for young Granola, who was positive he should have figured it out by now. While the adults went to the royal palace, the guards by now letting them in without hesitation, even if there were some members of the guard who still weren't happy about it. The three adults moved up to the king, who was standing in front of a monitor, tracking things that were complicated even for a group of people who were friends with Kryptonians to understand. T'Chaka welcomed the trio with a friendly wave, their relationship becoming much more calm as time went on. They all nodded to the man as Muesli clutched her arm, waiting for something, anything to do that would give her a sense of purpose. The full terms of their deal were that the aliens would help the Wakandans understand the threat of space, build up their planetary defenses, and perhaps, most importantly, to help Wakanda aid the world with as little risk to themselves as possible, in exchange for Wakandans' aid in getting stronger. Given the extraterrestrial refugees were only allowed in Wakanda at a maximum of 2 days a week, a precaution T'Chaka took to help keep his people as placated as possible about outsiders being in their kingdom. The latter was fairly difficult, but they've been making progress. T'Chaka tossed Bardock his bracelet, the man catching it in one hand. I've managed to boost performance of your gauntlet. The 7 times multiplier that you had before can now hold up to 30 seconds, and if you want, you can boost it to 10 times without breaking, although that's far more risky to your personal health. He replied, Bardock nodding. That would put him at a maximum of around 130,000 for a mere moment. It was good, stronger than any Saiyan had ever been before aside from maybe Yamoshi, but it would maybe last for a second, if that, and he wasn't sure that would last against someone like Frieza. Heck, he wasn't even sure if 130,000 was even close to Frieza's power level. There were so many strong forces in the universe vying for power that Frieza probably had to be in the millions to maintain his grasp, and his brother was rumored to be even worse. You got any work for us? I want to try this thing out, Bardock grunted, adjusting his gauntlet around his wrist. Muesli was right there with him. Gine was the only one not keen on leaving her sons. She considered Cal her son too at this point, and to a lesser extent Granola, alone in a place that she wasn't, especially since it had been years and her other boy still hadn't come back to her. As a matter of fact, T'Chaka swiped at the holographic screen before him, a display of the continents of the Earth appearing around them. I do. You are all the highest concentration of energy of any kind outside of Wakanda. We quite literally had to adjust our planetary scans after we became aware of your existence. He swiped again, a large pulsing dot appearing over the continent of Africa, specifically the Kingdom of Wakanda. That is you, all of your power combined, as from our readings. Bardock and Muesli couldn't help but puff their chests out a little bit at this. There were other blots of energy waves appearing all over the planet, and none of them were even close to what they were together. It was also a sense of safety for Muesli. knowing that there was nothing around her that could hurt her son, could hurt the sense of family that they had built, as fragile as it was. And this is what we picked up from our sensors less than 3 days ago. T'Chaka swiped again, a large blue dot appearing on the screen. Not only was this a sizable new energy force, it dwarfed them, easily 5 times the size. Immediately, whatever sense of calm or peace that Muesli felt in her soul was gone nearly immediately. "What is it?" Bardock asked, his Saiyan blood boiling. There was a challenge, a genuine challenge, on this planet. The fact that it could be, and in all likelihood was, a threat wasn't even weighing on the man's mind. In the late 1800s, Earth was attacked. Thousands upon thousands of monsters poured out all over the world, T'Chaka explained. We called these creatures vampires, living cannibals who rip people apart like tissue paper. This was the situation that forced Wakanda to reveal herself to the rest of the planet, to give openings to the planet's other defenders to put an end to the situation before things got worse. They were able to accomplish this with an artifact that resurfaced in the 1940s. World War II? Bardock asked. He looked into it when he was trying to find powerful warriors on the planet. That was the conflict in which this Captain America guy cropped up, the man who was supposedly responsible for the conflict's end. Precisely, it was how the Axis powers, specifically an organization known as Hydra, created a plan that wasn't public knowledge. The official story is that they crafted a bomb, something capable of wiping out several cities at the same time. And unofficially? Bardock asked. They were going to use this artifact to travel around the world in an instant, eliminating anyone that they otherwise wouldn't be able to, that they thought would threaten their rules. Presidents, prime ministers, kings? Bardock asked. And civilians, T'Chaka continued. From our past encounters with this stone, we can be sure that it's the same thing. Somehow it came back from Captain America and his friends, seemingly destroying it. What's worse is that its signal completely dropped off the face of the Earth, blipping in and out of several different locations. So that would mean someone took it, Muesli surmised. Who? We aren't entirely sure, but we have an idea. He waved his hand one last time. The Hydra logo appearing around the screen, flashes of their history surrounding it, their founding in World War II, brainwashing schemes, attempts at world domination, reviving slumbering godlike entities known as Pillar Men, which nearly ended the world at the same time that they were actively trying to weaken it. These people were threats, alright, and if they had experience with that stone thing, they could potentially even make weapons capable of killing them. The stone was stronger than they all were, after all. We only have vague clues where they are. Bases that seem abandoned, ghost soldiers who drop off the map, and any one of them could be a trap. Muesli nodded along. This was it, something to give her energy, focus, purpose again. Even more than the people she had saved before. This was her chance to exert her own strength. To protect herself and her family, she just had to find... A crashing sound broke all their attention, the soldiers of Wakanda rushing by them as they heard the sound of the boys and Shuri around whatever it was that had just entered the safest place on the planet. Whoa! Are you guys okay? Young Kal-El shouted. What kind of spaceship is this? Goku asked. I never seen one work in the planet before. I don't believe it's a spaceship, it's more like a plane? T'Challa replied. A car, Shuri corrected. A modified one, but a car nonetheless. Granola, meanwhile, was silent, pointing his finger, energy beam charged at the 2 occupants inside, waiting for them to try something. Alright, this was your idea, Bulma. Got anything to say? Tony asked quietly. I'm thinking, she swallowed hard, staring at the boys and the hundreds of soldiers around them. Thinking hard. Whoa, you guys okay? Young Kal-El shouted. What kind of spaceship is this? I've never seen anything work like this on the planet before, Goku asked. I don't believe it's a spaceship, it's more like a plane? T'Challa replied. A car, Shuri corrected. A modified one, but a car nonetheless. Granola, while the kids were talking, was silent, pointing his finger, energy beam charged at the 2 occupants inside, waiting for them to try something. Alright, this was your idea, Bulma. Got anything to say? Tony asked quietly. I'm thinking. She swallowed hard, staring at the kids in front of her, and the hundreds of soldiers behind them. Thinking hard. Hey everybody, I just want to say thank you for checking out this next section of Dragonball OCU. Thank you all for joining, and I look forward to talking to you all next time. Bye y'all!